Hey guys, it's Zhang, and today we are going to be making 3 Asian-inspired noodles that you won't be able to say no to. Alright, so the first one we're going to be making is a spicy chili garlic oil noodles. And spoiler alert, it's amazing. Alright, so I'm going to start by cooking up my noodles and veggies first. Let me turn on the pot, get it nice and boiling, and then let's talk about the noodles. So here I'm using this really beautiful looking noodle. It's a wheat noodle. It comes dried in a package. It's just called like Asian wheat noodles, and it has these curly edges, but you can of course use like ramen. If you can't find this, I feel like flat udon noodles or just any flat kind of wheat noodles would definitely work. So I'm just gonna cook it according to the package's direction. All right, so now that it's done, I'm just gonna remove it from the pot and strain it. So I'm just making sure to reserve the hot water so that I can quickly blanch my greens. Technically, you can add it towards the last 30 seconds of cooking the noodles, but my pot's rather small, so I'm doing it this way. And then here I have some bok choy. You can use baby bok choy, you can use any type of greens that you like, but I grew these in the garden, so they're perfect to use for this noodle dish. That's about good. Just fish them out and let them all drain together. So now we're gonna move on to making the sauce. At this step, you should kind of be heating up the oil simultaneously with combining the ingredients, but since we're doing it for filming purposes, I'm gonna show you my heating process for the oil first. So in a saucepan, I'm gonna add about 3 to 4 tablespoons of oil. You wanna use a neutral oil, so I typically love using avocado oil, but you can use canola, grapeseed, whatever works for you. And just heat it up until it reaches 350 degrees. So this next part, I'm gonna do a little bit differently. When I was testing this recipe, I noticed that a lot of people would add the noodles into the bowl first and then all of these ingredients and then the hot oil over it. But I just found that it wasn't mixing correctly, and so I'm gonna work backwards. I'm gonna start by adding some garlic, a little bit of ginger, green onions, and a little bit of salt. The specific amounts will be written out in the description box below. Now to give it that spicy chili oil kick, I'm gonna be using 2 types of chili flakes. The first one is your regular old red pepper chili flakes, and the other one is gochugaru, which is a Korean chili flakes, which is a staple in my pantry. I just feel like this gochugaru gives it that beautiful red color. If you can't find this kind, you can just go ahead and use more of the crushed red peppers. Now I'm gonna add some soy sauce. And to give it a little bit of an acidic kick, some black Chinese vinegar. So black Chinese vinegar has a very distinctive flavor. You can find it at any Asian market these days, but if you can't, you can always substitute it. I would say half rice vinegar and half balsamic vinegar to give it that like sweet, mellow, vinegary taste. So once the oil's at temperature, I'm gonna go ahead and pour it directly over our green onions and all the goodies. So once I pour the oil in, you'll notice it sizzle. That's when you wanna add the noodles in immediately. Now I'll just mix, mix, mix. The reason why I did it this way is because it allowed everything to bloom. So for example, the chili peppers had a chance to open up, and then you saw the sizzling oil on top of the green onions and the garlic. It just creates a better flavor in my opinion. This looks so good. All right, let's go ahead and serve it. So this is a really humble dish. It's very similar to the biang biang mian. I hope I'm saying that right, how they would pour it on top, like as I mentioned before, but I'm just kind of doing it my way. So to serve this, I am going to, I guess you can eat the whole bowl, but that's a lot of noodles, but I'm gonna transfer a little bit into a separate bowl. Now we'll add some bok choy. Gotta have our veggies. Then I like to add a little bit of black sesame just to give it that nuttiness. And on top of the white noodles, it just looks really pretty. And finally, we'll top it with some slivered green onions. I'm just gonna put a little mound right here. Beautiful. Let's give it a try. I guess if you wanted to make it extra spicy, you can put more spicy oil or chili garlic paste on top, but I think this is plenty spicy for me. It is so yummy. The noodles noodles are nice and slippery. You definitely taste the ginger and garlic along with the soy sauce in there, but with the hint of the black vinegar, it just gives it like this unique depth. And the chilies, spiciness definitely coming through. Oh my gosh, this is such an easy dish to prepare and it just has so much complex flavor. This next one has everything you want to eat. Protein, veggies, a little bit of carbs, and it comes together in about 10 minutes. We're gonna be making a shrimp noodle stir fry. All right, so I'm gonna start by mixing my sauce. This is probably the most involved part of it. I'm gonna start by adding some soy sauce into a bowl. Then I have a little bit of oyster sauce to really give it a little bit more depth, savory depth. I always like using oyster sauce in my stir fries. Sesame oil to give it that nuttiness, a little sugar for balance, some mirin sake just to round out the sauce, some salt, and finally, black pepper powder. This black pepper powder is very fine and it's this kind of spiciness that hits you in the back of your throat. It's really good. And I'll just give it a mix. And if you're mixing it, it'll hit you in your nose too. Like I just got a whiff of it and let me just tell you, kind of like it. All right, now we can get cooking. So I have everything laid out, but I wanted to talk about the noodles real quick. The one that I'm using today are fresh noodles right here that I've already cooked off and drained. You can find fresh noodles at any Asian grocery store, and I love the ones that are like knife cut. They're just thick and chewy and delicious, but if you can't find them, then I highly recommend these dried udons, or you can use dried spaghetti, ramen, whatever you have on hand. Noodles are great in any form. All right, so to start cooking, I'm gonna heat up my wok on high heat. And as it's heating up, I'm gonna add some oil. I'm using avocado oil because it has like a really high smoke point, which is perfect for noodle stir fry. So once the wok starts to smoke up like this, I'm gonna add my heartier vegetables. I have some cabbage and shredded carrots that I'm gonna cook first. Then once it starts to soften, I'm gonna add my shiitake mushrooms, green onion, garlic, and then just give it a quick stir fry. And then I'm gonna make a well at the center, and then we're gonna add our shrimp. Shrimp cooks really fast, and so I just wanted to cook with the vegetables so that it could flavor it and just mix really well. Okay, so the shrimp is nice and cooked. Now I'm gonna add the noodles and the sauce. Toss everything together until the sauce thoroughly coats the noodles. And that's it. All right, to serve, I'm just gonna get our noodles first. Piping hot. I like to do a little twisty action. And then I place my shrimp and vegetables right on top. Finally, I'll just garnish it with a little bit more green onions that I've already slivered up. And to top it off, I love adding some chili onion crunch. So you guys might be wondering, typically you cook the protein first, but because shrimp cooks so fast, I like par cooked it and then I mixed it in with the sauce because it'll continue to keep cooking. That way we have like a perfectly cooked shrimp here. Let's give it a try. The noodles just soaked up all of that flavor. It's like salty but sweet and balanced. The shrimp is sweet, succulent, and delicious. You guys should definitely try this one for New Year's. All right, the next one we are gonna be making is one of my favorite dishes to order at a Chinese restaurant, beef Chow Fun. It's so easy to make that you can actually make it at home too. All right, so first I'm gonna start by marinating our meat. Here I have some shaved beef that I got at Trader Joe's. I believe it is just really thinly sliced ribeye, but you could definitely look for any kind of like thinly sliced meat at your local market. So to this, I'm gonna add a little bit of cornstarch, which will help tenderize our meat, and some oyster sauce and soy sauce. Just give it a good mix, making sure that the beef thoroughly absorbs the sauce. And because the beef slices are so thin, it doesn't take long to marinate this at all. All right, this looks good. Now I'll just set it aside for about 10 minutes. Okay, so while our beef is marinating, I'm gonna walk you through the sauce. To our bowl, I'm just gonna add most of the usual suspects. We have some oyster sauce. And like I said before, all of the ingredients and recipe is gonna be written out in the description box below. Some soy sauce. And this next ingredient is a little bit unusual, but I love it so much. Thick soy sauce, which is also sometimes called soy paste. And it comes in a jar like this. The difference between this and regular soy sauce is that it's quite a bit thicker as the name describes, but there's molasses in there. So it has like this sweet, almost smoky taste to it that I think is so good. And I use this in a lot of my Asian cooking, like marinating grilled pork, Vietnamese grilled pork. You guys can find a lot of recipes using that in my cookbook. Then we'll add a little bit of sugar and water just to thin it all out. Just mix everything together. Okay, and our sauce is done. Now let me walk you through the noodles. So for our noodles, I'm actually using fresh rice noodles that come in like these flat packs like this. This can be found in the refrigerated section at any Asian market. If you can't find those though, you can always use the dried rice noodles. I typically like to use the extra large ones just because I feel like beef chow fun should have those like thick, wide noodles. And this is the extra large size. When you cook it up, it definitely expands. But now to our fresh noodles, I'm just gonna cut it up into 1-inch thick slices. All right, this looks good. Then just kind of separate the pieces a little bit so that they don't clump together. When you cook it and heat it up, it'll separate by itself, but I'm just helping it along a little bit. And then for any large pieces like this, just kind of tear it off to give it like a rustic, homey feel. All right, this looks good, so let's do this. I have my wok here and I'm just gonna heat it up on high heat. All right, now that the wok is nice and hot, I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of oil. Then I'll quickly sear the meat. It only takes about 3 to 4 minutes for this to cook up. You'll see the edges of the meat get kind of crispy and brown, and once you see that, just transfer it into another bowl, and then if there's any kind of tidbits left over on the wok, just scrape it off. All right, so let me walk you through the next steps real quick. So I have some green onions and I've separated them into a white part and green part. I'm gonna be cooking up the white part first. So let me go ahead and heat up the wok again. Get it nice and hot. I'm gonna add our white green onions, ginger and garlic, stir fry it until it's nice and fragrant. And then we're gonna add our rice noodles in. Give it a quick stir just to soften it slightly, and then we're gonna add in our sauce. So once you've added the sauce, mix it a little bit, just until it thoroughly coats the noodles. You'll see that the noodles are still kind of wet, but this is when we add the remaining ingredients. Our beef, a handful of bean sprouts, and the rest of our green onions. Give it a final mix just until everything looks kind of cooked and wilted. And let's give it a try. This looks so good. And here's our beautiful piping hot plate of Chow Fun. All right, let's give it a try. The rice noodles softened up and it soaked in all of the flavor because we were cooking in this smoking hot wok hay. It has a little bit of smoky flavor from the wok and also our thick soy sauce. It's balanced, the meat is super tender. It's just one of my favorite meals to have. What do you guys think? Let me know by commenting below which easy noodle dish you would try first, and if you guys are looking forward to New Year's and celebrating, all of these would be so perfect. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.